How many times have you found yourself going to the holiday season without any plan or any idea on what you're going to do, but you know you got to spend some money because you know you got gifts to buy, food to get, you're going to be hosting and putting all the holiday decorations up and all of the things, and you want to be able to just enjoy the holiday season and have fun. And before you know it, once the new year begins, you think you're going to be starting off to the new year, new me, but then now you've got all of the credit cards and buyer's remorse that's coming from you overextending yourself and spending, right? Like, I think we've all kind of been there. But today, I wanted to give you guys 5 holiday savings tips and also budgeting tips that can help you stay sane and also spend mindfully and intentionally during the holiday season. So that way you are not always living in the moment and then feeling regret afterwards. So if that is something that you're needing help with and wanting to learn how you can enjoy the holiday season without all the buyer's remorse or the maxed out credit cards, then make sure you stay tuned and hop on this video with me. And I'm so excited to be coming to hang out with you guys. If this is your first time tuning in with me, welcome. My name is Apollonia Cross, and I am a Christian life coach who loves helping mompreneurs learn how to manage their emotions as well as learn how to improve their self-care through using planners and journals. And one of the biggest things that every mom is like probably racking her brain around right now is not only making sure she is trying to reach her big goals and meeting deadlines at work and all of those things, but she's also trying to make sure everybody is happy, the house is decorated, the parties are planned, and all of the things. Like, this is the absolute most demanding season of the year for all of us, but especially for us moms, because obviously we are the ones who are in charge of making sure that holiday joy is represented, right? So that could be a lot of pressure, and you may be feeling the pressure and the desire to want to maximize on all of these sales that you see. Maybe give yourself permission to fully decorate the house or whatever, right? But you're a little apprehensive because obviously all of these things cost money, and that's totally okay. So this is why I wanted to give you some budgeting and savings tips that I have done over the last couple years, and not always perfect. So every time I share these tips with you guys, like, these are tried and true tips. However, I'm not a well, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I'm learning to give myself grace, right? And so when I'm sharing these tips with you, take them with a grain of salt, but really think about some of these lists as well as tips that you can adopt before we get into the holiday season. Now, if you've already kind of started spending and taking advantage of the early Black Friday deals, fine. You can still absolutely use these tips that I'm sharing with you to help you still finish out the remaining holiday season with minimal damage, right? Because it's still really early. Like, it really is. We haven't even had Thanksgiving, and there's a lot of great sales going on. So again, like I said, all of these tips you can definitely use now, later on at the end of the at the holiday season, and even at the to help you set yourself up at the beginning of the year. If you are a future planner person and you like to have things planned out way in advance, then you're definitely going to like these tips. All right. So the very first thing that I wanted to share with you guys is, let's talk about lists. Okay. So most of the time when we go out and we are shopping and all of the things, right? We kind of think more on the top of our head with who we need to buy gifts for. We kind of have an idea, and those are the people who are not necessarily, we always make sure to get them gifts, right? Like our kids, our spouse, maybe immediate family. But depending on how big and large your family is, as well as budget, that can vary. So you may forget some people, which might cause you to kind of like shop at the last minute, right? And trying to do more unplanned shopping, right? So this is why you want to make sure that you have lists, not only for gifts, but for food and all those things. So we're going to break all of these down in a little bit. Okay. So as you guys are hopping on, make sure you let me know in the comments, Are you prepared already for the holiday season and have started shopping? Or are you like, I'm not even there yet. I'm trying to still just finish out this week so I can enjoy the weekend. Let me know how you're feeling on that because I think that'll be funny conversation as we're going through the video. All right. So, okay, the very first list, I already kind of talked to you guys about this, right? So, I'm going to give you 5 lists that you want to make sure that you start to create for yourself and really allow yourself like a good 30 minutes to brain dump this all out because it's a lot easier when you've really intentionally sat down and thought everything through first. So that way, when you are doing and moving, you're moving with intention and purpose. This is what is going to help you keep those boundaries in place for yourself. And so this way, again, the goal is to prevent overspending and to prevent the stress and the headache from forgetting this and forgetting that. Like you may or may not still forget some things, but the amount of things you forget will be a lot less. Okay. So the very first thing we kind of already talked about are gifts, right? We all know this is like the season to give, right? But let's make sure that we make a very big list, just like Santa does, on who we are intentionally going to give to. Okay. And like I kind of already talked about, it's easy to think of your immediate family, like kids, spouse, mom and dad, siblings, right? If you guys go that far. Okay. But what about extended family? Or the kids' classmates, if they're going to be doing a party in Secret Santa, or your job is doing Secret Santa, right? Or are you and your family choosing to donate to a I can't think of the word, like an orphanage or to a charity or anything like that. Like really take this time to really brain dump and really sit with your spouse, or if you're single mom, sit with yourself and really ask. Or even this is a great exercise just to do together as a family and say, family, who do we want to choose to give gifts to this year? How much are we going to spend and allocate to giving in total? Okay, in total. And this is not to freak you out. You need to know what the big number is. You need to know what that is. So this way you can automatically know when the credit cards could start pulling out and things start to rack up, you're not freaking out because most of the time we do the opposite. We just go and spend, 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 spend. And then all of a sudden the big number is there. No, set your cap on what the big number is going to be. And then from the big number, break it down on who is going to get what and for how much, right? Because again, you don't want to build the pyramid upside down to where, again, you start with the just gradual and then all of a sudden it gets super big and you weren't expecting it. And then you topple over freaking out. No, go at the very top, figure out, okay, what's the big number? And then make sure you have all the details below, right? And everything stays under the big number. Okay. So gifts, right? That's one big list that you want to make sure you make for yourself with all the details, with the big number and all of the amounts that you're going to delegate to people. Now, the next list, this is another very big expense, or especially around this year, food. Like it's always a big expense, even just like aside from rent, the grocery bill is always going to be the highest bill in the house. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it really truly is. It's the food bill. And especially around this year, you got to remember we got kids who will be full-time at home for a couple weeks. And so that grocery bill, especially if you got teenagers, that bill's going to jump up. And then for if you're going to be doing more baking, right? You're going to be adding in nuts, more butter, more things that you probably normally wouldn't include in your regular average cooking time of the year. But you want to make sure that you really think about all of these things and all the different types of meals and dishes and all of that stuff you're going to make, and you increase your average grocery budget, or at least just set a limit on how much you're going to spend for party food, kids party food, extra home baking and things like that. Okay. And like, just like the same with your gifts, making sure you set a very big numbers and that is obviously within your budget and that you're comfortable with. So this way, the goal is to stay and work within that. All right. And then when you know all of the different dishes that you're planning on making, you can, for the most part, start to figure out exactly how much each of these items are going to cost and be able to choose whether or not this is going to be a dish that we're going to do, this is a dish we're not going to do. Because otherwise, the last thing you want to do is have an unexpected extra $400 to $500 that you're spending on groceries, is because you didn't plan and think about ahead of time how many dishes you were making for the potluck, how many dishes you were going to be making for your family's Christmas meal or Thanksgiving and all of that. And so, just for example, like I actually set aside about $400 to $500 one day when we were throwing Thanksgiving, and we were really footing the bill on this one, which was fine. But I just wanted to go ahead and see like exactly how much I spent on Thanksgiving alone for the holiday prep, and it was about $400 to $500 extra on top of our regular groceries, right? Because we bought all of the sides, we bought all the cups, we bought the drinks and a couple main dishes, and it adds up. So think about that early, so you're not having to stress about that, right? Make that list on what potlucks you're going to participate in, parties, all of those things. Okay. Now we are not on our third list that you want to make is, let's talk about decorations, right? What decorations are you going to need? And this can be something that's really, really overlooked. We are all on Instagram, we're all on Pinterest and TikTok, and see all of these amazingly beautifully decorated homes. And we know that there's parties and things that this is that time of year where everybody just unapologetically lights up their house, fully decks out their house and all the things, which is fine. But if you do not set a budget on how much you're going to spend on decorations, you can overspend for sure, very, very, very easily. Even with a good sale, you will overspend if you're not mindful and careful. So, sitting down and planning out what area of your house you're going to focus on buying decorations for and setting a budget for that. So, this way you're mindfully spending on those things and not just going to Hobby Lobby and throwing everything in the cart because you see the big 75% off sale on Thanksgiving. So you're buying now and then for next year or what have you, or even, well, Thanksgiving is next week at the time of this video. But still, like, don't let the discount signs fool you. It adds up, people. It adds up. Okay. But if you love to decorate, fine. Set yourself up in advance with a limit and a budget on how much you're actually going to spend for decorations, and make sure not just the total amount on decorations, but decide exactly what you're going to decorate. What room are you going to decorate? Are we focusing on the outside of the house or the inside of the house? And also, are we doing the main area, the kitchen? Like, really, really think about it. You guys might think I'm thinking and doing too much and thinking in all of this, but no, I'm trying to help you really look at the bigger picture, because again, most of the time for a lot of us it's the end of the year grand total of it all where we're like, oh crap, I didn't know, because we were just focusing on spending. And then we have buyer's remorse once the holidays are over and we're paying on the credit card, right? Let's not avoid let's avoid those things. Let's not intentionally do those things, right? So making sure you have a list, choosing what decorations you're needing to buy for what areas of your home. And then this is, like I said, these things you can also do to help you pre-plan at the beginning of the year for the upcoming holiday season or whatnot, if you like to plan ahead. Okay. And now this is the fourth category you want to make a list for, is entertainment. Okay. What types of activities and things are you going to be participating in with your family? And there is so much. There is absolutely so many different fun things you can do in the city, some fun things you can do, like going and chopping down your Christmas tree this year. Maybe you want to go see movies, maybe go see like a play, like a holiday play, or Lord, there's just so many different forms of entertainment and activities that you can do that we don't realize cost, right? Even if it's in the form of like you're going to have a um I don't know why I can't think of it off the top of my head. Say you're just going to have a holiday sleepover or something like that, right? What is that going to entail? You're going to, what type of movies? Are you renting a specific movie or not? Or if you're going to do something big, like actually go to like a light festival or something, there's probably going to be some food and things that you want to buy, right? So you want to make sure that you choose exactly what activities you're going to participate in and set a specific budget for those activities and things. So this way, when you're going, you can at least just fully enjoy yourself, right? Because you don't want to be going and then worried every single time that you're spending, or your kids ask you for this, or like the cotton candy, or if they want the special caramelized pecans or something that are always so good at festivals and stuff. Like, it's great to want to have these things, but let's make sure that we have a budget for them so we can enjoy them unapologetically and not regret it later. And then the fifth one is events. Now, when I say events, I'm talking about what parties are you going to host or participate in, and this can be in alignment with potlucks, the kids' parties and events. A lot of the times, there might be concerts where you might have to pay for something for the school, or the kids have a potluck or some type of a event that you might be hosting, or a family event, or even a corporate event that you may have to pay for. Like, these are things you want to consider and think about that everyone in your household may or may not be aware of, but you do definitely want to make sure that you set a budget and actually talk about it, because everybody has something. And whenever we don't talk about it and try to make sure that we're intentional about the money that we're spending for it, then again, this adds on to that stress down the road, to where you had to pick up a last minute. Oh, your husband has an event, like a ball or a corporate event. Now you got to go grab a new gown and blah, 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 right? Like, most of the time we should be getting those invitations and all of those things right now. And so when you look at the invitation, right? Look at the invitation. That's great if you want to participate, but think about, okay, how much is this going to cost that I need to start really considering and thinking how I can put money away for it? Okay. All right. And so now those were the 5 lists that you want to make sure that you're making for yourself as you are pre-planning and prepping yourself for the holiday season, right? It doesn't matter where you are. You could have already kind of started with something, just maybe gifts, or, maybe you're just thinking about food, because we got Thanksgiving coming up, which next week I'll be talking more and giving you guys some tips on meal planning and meal prepping for that, more in specifics. So make sure you guys tune in with me next week live. But now let's go ahead and get into some holiday savings tips that are really, really going to help you, right? And I've kind of talked a little bit about it as we've been going in the conversation. And I see you, Tina. How are you, love? I see you. And you are not there yet. Elaborate on that with me, and maybe that way I can see how I can help you with that. When you say you're not there yet, I'm wondering, is that you're not there with planning all the things out, or maybe you're not there with budgeting? Not sure, but let me know in the comments. All right, so let's get into these 5 holiday savings tips. And number 1 is obviously create a budget for each category, right? So we know to create a budget, but you need to get very detailed. Okay, the devil is in the details. It's not, most people are always more just thinking about, oh, just in the moment and the surface level of things, but they don't go into all the detail of what it's truly going to cost them when they commit to doing this type of a party, or doing buying gifts for the family and whatever. So whenever you're making these lists, I promise you, you will be a lot more at peace, and also be able to stand firm with your boundaries when you say, no, we're not going to buy this, or no, you're not going to do this. And you won't feel any type of way about it. Why? Because you created a budget, You went into the details, and this extra shiny thing that somebody may be trying to entice you or maybe inviting you, and you may want to go, there's nothing wrong with that. But because again, we established the budget and also established the boundaries for this budget, for this category, we are blocking out anything else that's not in alignment with that. And that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's in alignment, go ahead, go for it. So making sure that you are establishing your budget for each of the categories of the holiday season, like we talked about. There's the gifts, there's the decorations, the food, entertainment, and any events that you guys are going to participate in, and make sure you break all that down and get as detailed as you possibly can. Now, don't stress yourself out of it over it, but just do your best to. Okay. All right. And then this is a very big one. Making sure that you over budget, right? Over budget. I say that because most people under budget and overspend instead of over budget and underspend. Why? Because you're like, no, it's not going to cost that much. And why? Because you don't want to admit that something's going to cost you more than what you're willing to pay for it, right? So we kind of have this idea of denial. Oh, it's okay. It's not going to cost that much. And then we go and spend. And then because we're thinking, all right, $5 here, $10 there, $15, $3. Okay. I'm good. Because we're looking at the smaller amounts of monies, but we're not paying attention to how much those smaller amounts are chipping away at that big amount. Right. And so if we only shoot a budget, if we have a very low budget of like $100, but we're not paying attention, we're just spending, then and something actually costed us $250, now we're in the red $150 and kind of frustrated and stressing out because we did not think of all the possibilities of what something could potentially cost. And so we got to figure out where this extra money is going to come from, right? And that's not a good way to have like bring joy and happiness throughout the holiday season. That's just stress and regret and resentment and buyer's remorse. Like, nah, ain't nobody trying to do that during the holidays. So when you set and establish your budget, set a very realistic budget, but make sure it's like a decent amount. And then obviously the goal is to spend under, okay? So that one's. Now, third tip is making sure that you maximize your resources. Okay. Sometimes we don't realize all the things that we already have available to us to help us save money when we're going to spend, or maybe things that we can regift, right? Maybe you have an item that you maybe gotten, or like gift cards that you've gotten and you kind of just saved and stacked and put away for a rainy day whenever you decided to use it, but you haven't used it in like months, and you're like, oh, I could go ahead and just use this and regift it, right? Regifting is a great way to maximize the resources that you have. Also, taking advantage of who can help you whenever it comes to throwing parties and events, that can definitely help with cost, as well as it can help you with just your sanity in general. What friends and family do you have who are going to be participating in the event or the party, the function, that maybe you can delegate some of the party expenses or activities and things. So this way, this is one thing that you can kind of take off of your plate that they're able and willing to do, right? And also don't downplay how much you can actually do yourself, because a lot of the times we want to buy all of these things to make our life easier, which is great. But sometimes we overpay for convenience, and then we overpay in our actual money down the road because we're trying to backtrack and pay the bill. So maximize the resources that you have. And also, if you have credit cards and you don't mind spending them and you're disciplined with them, maximize those for points. And that leads us into this fourth one is credit cards, right? Using your credit cards wisely and with a purpose. Because now everybody is different with how they feel about credit cards, right? But when I say use them wisely and with a purpose, let me give you this example, okay? If you have a budget for groceries or gifts, right? And your credit card is doing a promotion on giving you double travel points or money back for the amount for groceries and gifts spent on like Amazon or maybe spent on gas or what have you, right? Whatever stores and whatever promotions there are, restaurants, there's so many different benefits and promotions that they already get you to use a credit card, right? So again, by having a budget and having that money aside, you're using the credit card more so as like a coupon card. Okay. So you know that you're going to spend probably a total on about, we'll just throw out a number, $600 on groceries, but you've put $600 of groceries away. You're making sure that you're staying under that $600. You're looking at your transactions on your phone app or tracking on the statement, what have you, right? And then once the end of the month comes up, you look at the bill and you're at $575 that you've spent. You're like, all right, cool. Remember, you already put $600 away for groceries. So you just take out that $575 from the 600, pay off the credit card. And now, because of the benefit of using a credit card instead of cash or your debit card, because of the holiday season, them running a promo that you get like 10 times the points for specifically on spending groceries, those $600 turns into 10,000 points. And now the 10,000 points, because especially if it's travel points, right? Now the 10,000 points is worth a one-way ticket, or depending on the ticket, a round trip ticket to any destination that you want, or towards discount off of a flight ticket or something. And maybe you were planning on going to visit a family member in like February. Just by you using your credit card and maximizing those bonuses that your credit card was already giving you, you basically got yourself a free flight. Right? So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying using it wisely and with a purpose. Okay? We're not just going and stupidly spending on the credit cards, right? Or if you might have like a 6-month bonus, or not a 6-month bonus, but like 6 months 0% interest, or a lot of the times there's like, if you don't have a credit card to the store, there are promotions, right? But again, using it very wisely. If you know that you're going to get a bonus, because you always get a bonus around this time of a year, or blah, 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 but you need to make the big purchase in advance, and there's like a benefit of a 0% interest for 12 months or whatnot, automatically knowing that whenever that money comes, or that you've set certain money aside, that money is specifically, we're labeling it like camera, or we're labeling it PS5, like whatever it is, but you're intentionally have that cash away for it, but you're putting it on the credit card so that way you can gain the points for the mileage for future travel, or future discounts on stuff, or benefits, or whatever, right? But again, just this is gonna be the third time I'm gonna say it, because I'm not gonna be responsible if you're not disciplined with using a credit card. Okay, use your credit cards very wisely and with a purpose. Okay. And then followed by the discipline of making sure that you fully pay off the balance when that bill comes due. Okay. But if you do not trust yourself, right? If you don't trust yourself being disciplined with the credit card, don't use a credit card. Don't use a credit card, even with all the benefits and all of the stuff. Let it go. Stay with the discipline. Okay. Of just cash, cash, cash. If you do not trust yourself, that's got to trust yourself with that, and you got to stick to that, because I'm not going to be the one to make sure that you pay your bill on time and within that guideline of your credit cards and everything, so that way the interest and all that doesn't add up. You have to do that. So again, wisely with a purpose. All of those things require intention and discipline. Okay. All right. And let's get into the very last one, but this one I would say is the most important one, is making sure you are tracking everything. Okay, everything. Track all of the purchases made, anything in regards to the holiday season. If you want to, maybe create like a specific spreadsheet or expense tracking sheet that is specifically dedicated for holiday spending, whether it's food, specifically for a food party, gifts, clothing you bought for pictures, if you spent money on family pictures for the holiday season, home decorations, like all of the things, anything you spend specifically for the holiday season, track it all and make sure you track it in detail with the category, right? The reason you want to track everything is not just so you can make sure you stay in budget, but this is also to help you pre-figure out what your budget is going to be and need to be for the next year. Okay, because most of the time we're creatures of habit. And so if you, unless you choose to change the habit or be or unless you're aware of the habit, you're not going to know what to change. Okay. And you're not going to know what to expect or spend if you didn't track what you spent. Right. So you're just going to be setting yourself up for failure. And so the best way to help you be proactive in the future, and not just the next year's holiday, but going forward, so you can always make sure, like, as your budget your income increases or decreases, whatever, you know what to cut, how to cut, what to increase, and all of the things based off of what you did the previous year. This is a part of applying your business mindset to your mom life mindset. Okay. A lot of the business principles are great just in general life principles, because you need to know what you spent so you can project what you're going to spend for the future year. And if you got to cut back, you cut back. If you need to bump up, bump up. But as long as you have a base, now this allows you the ability to save over that 12-month period, right? Because the holidays come around every single year. This is going to allow you to save over that 12 months. So again, we're not waiting till November, throwing everything on a credit card and spending 12 months to try to pay off the previous year's balances, right? Everybody's done it. Everybody's done it. We know, no shame or no guilt, right? We've all done it. We learned how this is a part of choosing to stop the buck and say the buck stops here. Let me start moving more mindfully and with intention with what I'm going to do from this day forward, right? And it starts with setting a plan, creating the budget, getting all the details going, making sure you're tracking everything down. So this way, once the holiday season is over, you can reevaluate everything, see where you went in budget, where you were in budget, where you weren't in budget, why did you go over in budget? Maybe if you were under budget, pop a bottle of champagne and be like, whoa, we was under budget, right? Now you've got some money to roll over to the next year. Great, right? But if you don't track it, you won't know. You just won't. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we're being more mindful and intentional, because these things help us stay sane. And so as life is happening and all of that, we can be better prepared to handle, right? We can be better prepared to handle everything. And so I hope you guys found these tips very helpful. Just quickly, I'm going to recap everything. So the very first thing that we talked about in the beginning of the video is talking about 5 lists that you need to make. And the first one was gifts. The second was food, obviously, right? Thanksgiving's around the corner, so I know y'all eating, getting ready to eat, okay? Now, third is decorations, all the decorations. Fourth is any entertainment, any activities and fun things that you want to do with the kids. And then any events that you have going on, whether it is a company dinner, a holiday party, whatever events. There's just events, right? Whatever events, because there's just too many for me my brain started to glitch trying to think about it all. But yeah, figure all of those out and write all those down. Okay. Now the second list, the next tips that you want to make sure you're doing is 5 holiday savings tips. And these are, number 1, obviously create a budget for each of the categories for the holiday season and make sure you're getting as detailed as possible, because the devil is in the details. Okay. We don't need him sneaking around any more than we have to, right? And then making sure you're over budgeting and underspending, not underspending, or not under budgeting and then overspending. No, over budget and then underspend. And making sure that you are maximizing your resources. Any friends or family who you may be able to help, ask for help, ask to participate or contribute, that you can delegate things for, or even when it comes to gifts, what activities and what gifts that you may have around the house that you can regift or anything like that, right? Or even gifts that you can make. Like figure out how you can maximize the resources you have and use those to help you throughout the holidays. And then the fourth one is credit cards, making sure you're using them very wisely and with a purpose and being very disciplined with them. Okay. And then the final one is making sure you're tracking everything that you need to track, all of the expenses, no matter how big or small, making sure you're tracking them. So this way you can reevaluate all of your expenses once the holiday season is over and be able to see whether or not you're over budget or under budget. But the biggest thing is be able to set yourself up for the upcoming holiday season. And this over time will continue to help you stay sane and in budget every year. All right. So thank you guys for hanging out with me live. And Tina, I seen you. You've not planned for next week, right? And that's okay, right? You still got plenty of time with the weekend. Most people end up the last time you want to go shopping or doing anything is like the day before Thanksgiving is the most busiest day. So if I were you, go ahead and make your grocery list and all of those things as soon as you can today and place that for order on Monday or Tuesday or what have you. So that way mentally it's already taken care of and you don't got to worry about it. You can pick your stuff up and grocery shop. Pick your stuff up, avoid the crowds, and then just stay focused on cooking and all of those things later. But either way, you still got plenty of time to go ahead and pre-plan and get everything done. Okay. So all right, you guys, thanks again for hanging out with me live. This is our last video for the week, and I'm going to enjoy a nice weekend. I hope you guys do as well. And until then, thanks for helping out with me, and I will talk to you guys later.